Protesters in Portland, Oregon, video supplied there that is shocking and disturbing. Those protesters singing Christmas Carol parodies, calling for more dead cops. Just days before the funeral of slain NYPD officer Rafael Ramos. Let's continue now on America's Forum. The anti-cop rhetoric seems to have taken much of the nation by storm. A lot of people say New York Mayor Bill de Blasio is to blame. In an effort to calm the tensions, the mayor planning to meet today with police union leaders to try and repair the rift. But is it in fact too late? Here to discuss the divide between New York's mayor and New York's finest, former NYPD Detective Tom Ruskin, checking in from Newsmax, New York. Tom, we thank you for your time. Welcome to America's Forum.
Good morning, JD.
Tom, from your perspective, what does the mayor need to say during this meeting to try and heal this rift?
Well, first, he's taking a page out of my playbook from a week ago where I said he has to start reaching out not only to the unions, but to the membership. He has to start reaching out to the cops, going to police precincts and talking to them and basically saying, I'm sorry. I made a mistake. I didn't realize, I'm a new mayor. I'm trying to feel my way through this whole thing. And I'm sorry that you had to experience what you've had to experience and lose two of your brother police officers who were executed.
Of course, former Mayor Giuliani said out and out that the current mayor should formally apologize. But I sense you're saying something a little different. Behind closed doors, offering some form of apology, correct?
Well, I think he should do both. I think that Mayor Giuliani is absolutely correct. I think that the mayor has made some missteps. I think it's the right thing to do as a mayor and as a leader to say, listen, I made mistakes, and take sort of some of the playbook from Ed Koch where he made mistakes, but he stood up in front of the media. He said, I made mistakes. Then behind closed doors, you go a little bit more into the guts of the problems between you and the police department.
You've outlined this first step, but I'm interested, Tom, and you've obviously been speaking in the public square about actions. If you were to prioritize beyond what you just outlined right here, what would be the top 3 actions the mayor could take that would improve morale among NYPD officers?
I really don't know if he's going to be able to. I mean, in his first year, he has basically made himself probably one of the worst mayors New York City has seen in many, many years, if ever. Yeah, I mean, with his missteps with, different incidents that have happened with the storm a year ago and not getting plows out on the street. Relative to the police, I don't know if he can repair all the things. He can make it better, but he can't repair it. You can't stand up as a leader after a controversial grand jury decision and start talking about your biracial son and how your biracial son is scared of the police and what you've told him. We know as parents, we tell our children exactly how they should interact with the police. And it doesn't matter if you're white, brown, black, Asian. We talk to our kids about that, but he went further. And I don't know if he can ever bring that back, especially when he let the demonstrators do what they did and assault police officers in New York City on tape and then call it an alleged assault.
With that in mind, then, in the world of realpolitik, it was mentioned earlier on this program, former Boston Mayor Ray Flynn said that, this candidate de Blasio was reaching out to what he thought was a key constituency. If he sees he has no chance to win over the police or police sympathizers, does he then return and double down to this hostile position, trying to ensure that at least the electorate that got him there in the most recent mayoral race stick with him? In other words, could he revert to form, so to speak?
Well, he can revert, but he doesn't even have them. He asked his constituency, if you want to consider that his constituency. He asked his constituency in the last week, please hold off demonstrations until both officers are buried. Detective Lou still has not been buried. He will be buried this Saturday. And as of tomorrow night, his quote-unquote constituency is going to be demonstrating and trying to take over Times Square and disrupt the events, the New Year's Eve events in Times Square tomorrow night.
So he is wedded to this group of malcontents, to those who have been out calling publicly for the deaths of police officers. Now, Tom, we offered the video from InfoWars of the Portland protesters. What was it, just yesterday in L.A.? It appeared that two
Yes,
LAPD officers were targeted. Does this become a problem that expands beyond Mayor de Blasio to entrap, if you will, the current president and the outgoing attorney general, given the rhetoric we've heard about race in recent months from the White House, the DOJ, as well as New York City Hall?
JD, that's an excellent question. And yes, the rhetoric coming out of Washington and out of the Justice Department has not been supportive of police officers. None of these incidents that happened, Ferguson, Missouri, Michael Brown, New York with Eric Garner, were racially based. These were based on police officers doing their job and trying to enforce the law. Even Miss Garner on public television has said, they weren't picking on my husband, Eric Garner, because he was black. They basically targeted him because he was breaking the law. And from my standpoint, he resisted arrest. And during the arrest, he lost his life. But that can happen. Michael Brown was targeted because he came across as a suspect in a forcible robbery minutes before. And that's why the officer targeted him, and that's what started the initial confrontation.
About 30 seconds remain, Tom. From your vantage point, should every police officer be equipped with body cameras? What's your reaction to that, Tom?
I think absolutely. But it's not the be-all, end-all. Yes, the answer to your question is absolutely yes, but it's not the be-all, end-all. In the Eric Garner case in New York, Staten Island, we have a video. It still didn't remedy the feelings that police had done wrong. So it's not going to be the be-all, end-all to solving every single crime that happens or exactly what happens. It's not the CSI of tomorrow.
Fair enough. Tom Ruskin, we appreciate your perspective as a former NYPD detective. Thanks for your time. Happy New Year. And America's Forum continues following this Newsmax Now update.